Just one day ago, a construction team was ordered to dig a tunnel through a mountain range. They ignored the residents' protests and installed explosives inside the cave. Then the workers pressed the detonation switch right in front of all the people. The explosion sounded immediately in the tunnel. After the smoke cleared, the construction team was ready to continue working. But just then, a deafening sound suddenly came from inside the cave. Then countless rocks fell from the ceiling. Before anyone could figure out what was going on, the foreman immediately shouted for everyone to leave. Before his words even finished, the top of the cave collapsed quickly, and before anyone could escape, they were all buried under it. None survived. The incident made the news and caught the government's attention, so they immediately sent out reconnaissance planes to investigate. But strangely, the pilot couldn't find any troops through thermal imaging. Instead, he accidentally spotted several giant human footprints. The strange event quickly attracted the attention of high-ranking officials, and that's when an emergency meeting was quickly organized, and paleontologist Nora was brought in to discuss. Some believe the incident was caused by the explosion, because the underground lava dissolved the limestone deposits, and water from the mountain flowed down the cracks, which eventually led to the tunnel collapse. But the giant footprints still couldn't be explained. At this point, the tech department found a video shot by the onlookers. Nora watched it carefully, and saw a strange figure on the screen during the explosion. It was huge, and resembled a human. The scene stunned everyone present. Could the giant footprints have been left by this unknown creature? So, after getting their approval, Nora prepared to investigate the scene. But just on the other side of the mountain, an elderly couple in a rural house was enjoying lunch. Suddenly, their dog seemed to have seen something, and quickly stood up, barking wildly at the mountain. The barking immediately disturbed the two people inside. At that moment, the old woman seemed to hear a wailing sound. When she pricked up her ears to listen carefully, the cup on the table suddenly began to shake, and outside the house, the dog quickly ran into its doghouse and froze in fear. As the strange sound grew louder, the whole house began to shake violently. Without hesitation, the old man immediately opened the cellar, and they both quickly crawled inside. The next second, the ground shook and the house trembled. After a short while, the room suddenly became quiet. At that moment, the cellar door slowly opened, and the two cautiously poked their heads out. But the scene before them completely stunned them. The house, once intact, was now reduced to rubble. But strangely, a giant footprint had appeared nearby. At this point, Nora had also arrived at the site of the footprint. It was 10 meters long and 5 meters wide, but what was odd was, the tip of the footprint only had 4 toes. Then, Nora took out a searchlight and crouched down. She kept searching the footprint for traces of this creature. She picked up a handful of dirt and smelled it. The scent of nature immediately hit her face. At this point, Nora was very curious. What kind of creature was this? To find the owner of the footprint, the military specifically sent a helicopter to follow the giant footprints and investigate. What was unexpected was, the footprint disappeared without a trace after 10 kilometers, and no creatures showed up on the thermal imaging. Seeing no results, Nora then brought in her insane father, because right now, only he knew something about the footprints. 20 years ago, her father had told Nora a story about a mountain monster. It was said that at the wedding of a mountain monster, 12 giant mountain monsters came to celebrate, but they got drunk and forgot to go home. The next morning, as the sun rose, they all turned into stone, and over time, their enormous size turned them into a mountain. And because of this, her father was eventually diagnosed as a neurotic patient. When Nora was a child, she thought it was just a fairy tale, until the appearance of the giant footprints. It was only then she realized that maybe the mountain monsters in the story were real.